Welcome, everybody, to Dumpster Times, issue number 22. Today, we're going to go dumpster diving. Yes, indeed. We're going to go looking for the stinkiest, most outrageous stories that no one else will touch. They get tossed in the dumpster. So let's go on inside and see what we've got for this week. All right? All right. Welcome to Cluttered Dumpster Central. This is where I keep all my files, where I keep track of all the stories going on in my community, in my state, in my country, and the world. Yes, I have to keep track of them all. And occasionally, once a week, share them with you. So today, we are going to start by looking at the stinkiest story imaginable, emanating from, you guessed it, state of Ohio. So let's get into it. Now, here's a headline you don't see every day. Ohio Supreme Court suspends attorney for flinging feces-filled Pringles can from his car. Ooh. And this is the building that houses the Ohio Supreme Court. Isn't that fancy? Jake Blakesley, a criminal defense attorney from Caldwell, Ohio, was punished Wednesday by the state's high court for tossing a Pringles can filled with his own feces in the parking lot of a victim advocacy center and failing to control his own bizarre impulses. That was a quote there. The attorney defecated into an empty Pringles can on the morning of November 30th, 2021. It's 2023. I mean, it's taken this long for something to be done about this? And then left his home to attend a pretrial hearing for his client, a defendant in a capital murder case. He drove past the Haven of Hope Victim Advocacy Center in Cambridge, near the Guernsey County Courthouse, and was captured on surveillance camera throwing the can into the center's parking lot. One of the center's employees, Carpenter Wilkinson, saw Blakesley throw the can from his car and recovered it in the parking lot before she attended the hearing for Blakesley's client. Ooh. Wilkinson, who knew Blakesley and had worked with him professionally, called police to report the incident, and the attorney was eventually charged with misdemeanor counts of disorderly conduct and littering. Littering his own poop. Can you believe it? Blakesley pleaded guilty to both charges and paid $248 in fines and court costs. Licensed in the Buckeye State for nearly half a century, Blakesley admitted during disciplinary proceedings that he had engaged in similar behavior at least 10 other times in 2021 alone, but denied targeting the advocacy center. He explained during his deposition and hearing that he threw the feces-filled cans to blow off steam, and that he got a kick out of it, imagining the look of surprise on people's faces when they would find them, the justices wrote in their majority opinion. Blakesley has described his misconduct as a prank and admitted that it was stupid. The justices continued in their opinion. Can you imagine being a judge and having to write an opinion about this stuff? Whoa. He also acknowledged that he was embarrassed by the public revelation of his misconduct and the resulting media attention. The court found that the admission of repeated poop throwing by Blakesley established a pattern of misconduct that required a suspension, even though the Board of Professional Conduct recommended a public sanction. Ooh, a public sanction. Does that mean he gets to stand out in the middle of the square in downtown Columbus and apologize for pooping into Pringles cans and then throwing them at people? I don't know. The evidence in this case shows that despite societal standards of cleanliness and decorum, Blakesley failed to control his own bizarre impulses to place feces-filled cans out in public for unsuspecting people to find, they wrote in the opinion. His aberrant conduct has adversely reflected on his own fitness to practice law and brought discredit to the profession through significant media attention. Yes. One lawyer poops in a Pringles jar. What are those other lawyers up to, huh? The justices were skeptical of Blakesley's denial that he targeted the advocacy center and mentioned he had worked with Wilkinson for nearly 20 years, while also theorizing the stunt was an escalation to seek an even greater thrill by pulling his prank on someone he knew. The court ultimately concluded the attorney did not intend to intimidate Wilkinson or any other employees at Haven of Hope and stayed 6 months of the suspension, provided Blakesley displays no further misconduct. Justice Patrick Fisher dissented from the majority in part and recommended a fully stayed 2-year suspension along with 2 years of probation. Well, there you go. You got to wonder, how much practice did it take to poop into a Pringles can successfully? I don't know why he started doing it, but he obviously got a thrill out of it, pooping into a can. Wow. And then throwing it various places in public. Kind of like wild animals, stallions who leave their poop in certain areas. I don't want to call him a wild stallion, though. I think I would call him a wild hog. No, that's an insult to hogs. He is a wild, out of control lawyer. So there you have it. In Ohio, we got lawyers who poop in Pringles cans. We also have other disgusting people in the state legislature, and I'd like to introduce you to the next one. Okay, I apologize for the ugliness of this shared page, but we'll try to spice it up. One Republican opposes bill to scrap Ohio's spousal rape exemption. By Haley B. Miller, State Bureau, USA Today Network. A Dayton area House Republican was the only lawmaker to oppose legislation Wednesday that would eliminate spousal exceptions for rape and other sex crimes. House Bill 161 would get rid of a provision in Ohio law that protects spouses from prosecution against rape, unless the perpetrator threatened force or the couple lives in separate homes. It also removes the marital exception for sexual battery and other sex crimes and allows spouses to testify against their partner in these cases. All right, Wednesday's vote was nearly unanimous. Wow. Somebody must have been running around whispering in ears, Republican ears. Hey, guys, you look pretty stupid upholding this old law, as we shall soon see. There was one naysayer, Republican Bill Dean from Xenia. He gave the sole no vote. Let's hear from Mr. Dean as to why. Mr. Dean?
I personally don't believe that a man, if he's married and has physical relations with his wife, that can be considered rape. I also know that if they're living apart or they're divorced and stuff, sure, that'd be rape. I think this law can be used as a wedge between husband and wife, and families and a husband.
Proponents have long called for changes to Ohio's law, saying it's an outdated exception that treats rape victims differently depending on their marital status. Representative Jessica Miranda, Democrat Forest Park, said Ohio is one of 11 states with such a law still on the books. 1/3 of rapes are committed by the person's current or former spouse, boyfriend or girlfriend, according to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. Nearly 20% of women and 7.6% of men reported sexual violence by an intimate partner in the 2016-2017 National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, the most recent report available. These arcane laws are failing survivors of sexual violence by keeping them from pursuing the justice that they deserve, Miranda said. The bill now heads to the Ohio Senate, where it better do something. So call or write your state of Ohio senators now. And that's some nastiness from Ohio. But there's nastiness in the Midwest, and I'm not talking about the COVID rates. More on that at the end. All right, let's look westward to Iowa. And this is a story that caught my attention because it shows a group of concerned people who are affected by this state's legislation, and they are fighting back. They're going to be suing Iowa, the publishing industry, along with some famous authors. The nation's largest publisher and several best-selling authors, including novelists John Green and Jodi Picoult, are part of a lawsuit filed Thursday challenging Iowa's new law that bans public school libraries and classrooms from having practically any book that depicts sexual activity. That does sound like a problem, doesn't it? The lawsuit is the second in the past week to challenge the law, which bans books with sexual content all the way through 12th grade. Penguin Random House and 4 authors joined several teachers, a student, and the Iowa State Education Association, the state's teachers union, representing 50,000 current and former public school educators in filing the federal lawsuit. All right. What we got here are people who are deathly afraid of sex for whatever reason. It was the way they were raised. They were taught to fear it. They were taught to demonize it, make it bad, connect it to religion and the devil and all kinds of things like that. And so they want to impose their beliefs on everybody else. During the time that I was raised, sex was not a part of our school curriculum. My mother had to take me to a special program at her work, BF Goodrich. They had a program for moms to bring their daughters to learn about their periods. And that was the only thing I ever learned about it in school, outside of school, in the 60s. Okay. All right. Got that settled. So this is pretty serious because we have grown so much further in our understanding of sexuality, gender, expression, the science of it all. When human beings start feeling those impulses, how can we help young people understand their bodies and what their bodies are capable of, and how to protect their bodies and keep them safe from predators? And you know what? Horatio, you're mad at me. You mad at those predators, Horatio? I am too. Because those predators are usually Republicans. We can leave this little story behind and go to this one. Can you all see this? Florida GOP. Florida GOP chairman under fire as more details emerge in rape inquiry. And this involves his wife. No, he wasn't raping his wife. He was raping a third sex partner who was going to be participating in a threesome with the Republican Party chair and his wife, who just happens to be a Moms for Liberty co-founder. Leaders of the Florida Republican Party criticized state GOP chairman Christian Ziegler as details emerged in a rape allegation by a woman with whom he and his wife previously had a 3-way sexual encounter. I'm not going to continue reading that story because everyone's read it. You've heard it. It's been in the news. It's shocking. Even my dog is shocked by it. So let's just leave it there and note the juxtaposition of the lawsuit in Iowa against laws that have made it impossible for educators to do anything to help their students understand their own sexuality and how to deal with life as young people. Can't happen in the state of Iowa. So go publishers, go authors, go education societies. And I would encourage other states to take residents in other states who are also facing these restrictive rules to take a look at this lawsuit, and let's get them going everywhere. Let's get them spending that money that they have accumulated. Those rich bastards who want to have pleasure for themselves, but nobody else can have it, right? And I wonder, are they really getting pleasure out of it? Or is it some kind of power control thing? Some kind of patriarchal thing of controlling those with whom we wish to have sex? Just saying. We have a COVID section here, and there's some good news, a little bit of good news, a little tiny ray of good news. I would like to recommend This Week in Virology as a go-to source. Every week, there are two programs. One is an update with Dr. Daniel Griffin, and the other is a panel discussion with virologists from around the country. And they're funny guys. I really like them. Dr. Daniel Griffin always wears a bow tie with a different virus on it. In this week's one, he's wearing a gonorrhea tie. I got out my coffee because I'm going to need it for this one. Here we go. Some good news. Coffee as a dietary strategy to prevent SARS-CoV-2 infection. And there will be a link to this so you can get into the nitty-gritty of it. I'm just going to go over the abstract so that you get an idea of what it's all about. To date, most countries lifted the restriction requirement and coexisted with SARS-CoV-2. Thus, dietary behavior for preventing SARS-CoV-2 as infection becomes an interesting issue on a daily basis. Coffee consumption is connected with reduced COVID-19 risk and correlated to COVID-19 severity. However, the mechanisms of coffee for the reduction of COVID-19 risk are still unclear, so they need to do more research. Well, here we go. Here we identified that coffee can inhibit multiple variants of the SARS-CoV-2 infection by restraining the binding of the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein to human angiotensin converting enzyme 2 and reducing transmembrane serine protease 2, TMPRSS2, and cathepsin L CTSL activity. Then we used the method of HRMS, exploring, recombination, examining, and found that isochlorogenic acid, A, B, and C of coffee ingredients showed their potential to inhibit SARS-CoV-2 infection. Inhibitory efficiency, 43 to 54%. In addition, decaffeinated coffee still preserves inhibitory activity against SARS-CoV-2. That's good news for all you decaf folks. Finally, in a human trial of 64 subjects, we identified that coffee consumption, approximately 1 to 2 cups a day, I probably do twice that, is sufficient to inhibit infection of multiple variants of SARS-CoV-2 entry, suggesting coffee could be a dietary strategy to prevent SARS-CoV-2 infection. All right, so just remember, it's some information, it's fun, it's good, drink your coffee, but still wear your mask and get your vaccinations. It's part of the whole package, all right? Okay, this is the wastewater map, and it's from the CDC site. And it is kept updated, and you can look at things by state. And I'm looking at here at Ohio. And my golly, Ohio is this yellow line right here. And there it was in April. Ooh, summer, June. It was pretty darn safe here. And this is when I was going out to the cafe in this period of time. When fall started coming, the rates started going up and I started staying home. This is the start of school right here in Labor Day, and it comes down a bit. And now, in November, look at that yellow spike. It was 10.6 on 11/18, and it dropped to 9.1 on 11/25. But I expect things over the holiday month, December into January, that this is going to go up. And I would just recommend using this site to stay on top of things. Keep track of what's going on. I don't like to spend a whole lot of time on Facebook or other social media, except maybe Blue Sky. But when I'm there, I'm noticing it's obvious when COVID is on the rise, because various friends are saying, oh, I got it again, got it third time. Oh no. Take care of yourselves, folks. We have no idea at this point what the end result of COVID in your body is going to be. Drink lots of coffee, and we'll see you next time. Bye.